Why do you lie like this, Blake? Why? Why do you do this? Do you understand? You are not smarter than the internet. They're both narcissists.
Blake Lively just got caught in one of the biggest Hollywood legal disasters of the year. Fake evidence, deleted messages, and a desperate attempt to control the narrative. Her lawsuit against Justin Baldoni is falling apart fast. At first, this case seemed like a major scandal. Blake claimed she was wronged. She painted herself as the victim, and the public was on her side. But as more details emerge, the story isn't adding up. She allegedly submitted false evidence, moved her lawsuit across states, erased text messages, and even dragged Ryan Reynolds into the mess. And now, people are wondering, was this entire lawsuit a PR stunt? What exactly did Blake do? How did she get exposed? And could this lawsuit completely destroy her credibility? Let's break it all down.
The public noticed. The public noticed that things were weird and things began to backfire on you, okay? They are being so wildly manipulative and dishonest as they have been since the beginning of this entire process.
When Blake Lively filed her lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, she expected public sympathy and Hollywood support. But instead, she's being called out for tampering with evidence. One of the biggest bombshells? Crucial text messages in her case have gone missing. These weren't just random messages. These were messages she originally used to make Baldoni look guilty. And now, they've mysteriously disappeared. One text reportedly said, "He doesn't realize how lucky he is," while another suggested she was plotting against him. So why would she delete them? Because those messages contradicted her own claims. Manipulating evidence isn't just dishonest, it's illegal. And if this gets proven in court, her entire case could collapse. But that's just the beginning of her legal circus.
The context of that exchange shows that they're out there combating lies.
Blake filed the lawsuit in Texas, but now she's moving it to New York. Legal experts say this is a classic case of forum shopping, where someone picks a court that might favor them. But why? Because she knows her case is weak and she's desperately trying to keep it alive. And then there's the witness situation. Blake claims to have multiple witnesses to support her story, but instead of letting them speak voluntarily, she's forcing them into court with subpoenas. If these witnesses really supported her, wouldn't they just come forward on their own? This lawsuit is looking less like a legal battle and more like a Hollywood publicity stunt. And speaking of PR stunts, Blake's history of manipulating public perception is starting to look even worse.
The reason why she's setting this up is she says, now I have to take steps to protect innocent bystanders rather than exposing them to further harm, because she's now using this to explain away why no one's joining in on her lawsuit, okay? They're setting that up right at the beginning. They're essentially, no one's gonna join in, but just so you know, this is to protect them.
Back in August 2023, Blake's team leaked HR complaints against Justin Baldoni. The goal? Destroy his reputation. But then, Sony and Wayfarer Studios stepped in, and they denied the complaints even existed. So if these complaints were real, why didn't the studios back them up? Because they were completely fabricated. This wasn't about justice. This was a smear campaign, plain and simple. And now that it's falling apart, Blake is desperately scrambling to cover her tracks. But somehow, Ryan Reynolds is now caught in the middle of all this. Ryan Reynolds has been eerily silent about Blake Lively's lawsuit against Justin Baldoni. And that's strange. Ryan is one of the most outspoken celebrities online. He's always making jokes, commenting on viral stories, and even poking fun at his own controversies. So why hasn't he said a single word about his wife's legal battle? At first, fans assumed he was just staying out of it. But then, people noticed something strange. Right after the lawsuit was filed, Justin Baldoni's presence in their shared film project suddenly vanished. Baldoni was originally involved in promoting the film, but once this lawsuit made headlines, his name and image started disappearing from the marketing. And guess who took over? Ryan Reynolds' production company. This is where things start looking suspicious.
It's unbelievable. They are being so wildly manipulative and dishonest as they have been since the beginning of this entire process that they are literally mining clips on the internet, taking them out of context so that they can produce a narrative that reads like a script to us.
Some people believe that Blake and Ryan coordinated a behind-the-scenes effort to erase Baldoni from the project. If true, this would be one of the dirtiest Hollywood power moves in years. Think about it, Baldoni wasn't just dealing with a lawsuit that damaged his reputation. He was also being phased out of a major film project, something that could affect his entire career. And Ryan? He's right in the middle of it. Here's where it gets even murkier. Ryan hasn't defended Blake publicly, but he also hasn't distanced himself from her. That's unusual because when celebrity scandals explode, most Hollywood stars do one of two things. They go all in and defend their partner, doubling down on their support. They quietly distance themselves to avoid career damage. But Ryan is doing neither. Instead, he's pretending like nothing is happening, even as his wife is being accused of fabricating evidence. So what does that mean? Some fans think Ryan is fully aware that this lawsuit is crumbling, and he's just waiting to see how bad it gets before making a move. Others believe he's been actively involved in the campaign against Baldoni, but he's staying quiet because he doesn't want his own career to take a hit. And then there's the possibility that he was pressured into supporting Blake, whether he wanted to or not. Hollywood marriages are complicated, and if Blake has spent months crafting this legal battle, Ryan might feel like he has no choice but to back her, at least in silence. But here's the real question. If this lawsuit keeps falling apart, will Ryan finally speak up? Or will he let Blake take the fall alone?
It goes on and reads, thus, this amended complaint does not refer to certain witnesses by name, nor does it provide screenshots of their text messages. Importantly, however, these witnesses have given Ms. Lively permission to share the substance of their communications.
At first, Hugh Jackman had nothing to do with this lawsuit, but somehow his name got dragged into the chaos. While the internet was exploding with speculation, Ryan Reynolds was suspiciously silent about the lawsuit, but he was still publicly interacting with Hugh Jackman. That's when fans started asking questions. If Ryan had time to joke around with Hugh, why wasn't he saying anything about the lawsuit that was taking over headlines? Some people believe Hugh knows more than he's letting on. Ryan and Hugh are close friends, and they've worked together for years. It wouldn't be surprising if they discussed the situation privately. But if Hugh knows something, why hasn't he spoken out? That's where the theories start. Some fans think Hugh is deliberately staying out of it. He doesn't want to be associated with the drama. Others think he's helping Ryan stay quiet to avoid making things worse. And then there are those who believe Hugh's silence is a clue, that he knows the lawsuit is a disaster but doesn't want to expose his friend's wife. This wouldn't be the first time a Hollywood A-lister stayed silent to protect someone's reputation. But no matter the truth, Hugh's presence in this story has only made things messier. The internet is watching him closely, waiting to see if he eventually reacts or keeps his mouth shut. And while Hugh has chosen to stay out of it, Blake Lively has been dragging other people into her lawsuit, whether they want to be involved or not.
Now, you'd think these texts would be very important in her new amended complaint, but she's removed them. They're not in this complaint at all now. And part of the reason is probably because Justin revealed the context of these texts, because they did look more nefarious.
If Blake Lively wasn't already facing enough backlash, this next part is what really made people turn against her. Somewhere in the middle of this lawsuit, she allegedly dragged a young actress into the battle, a move that some people are calling one of Hollywood's most blatant manipulations. So what happened? Blake claimed that a young co-star from her film would be a key witness in her lawsuit against Justin Baldoni. But here's where it gets suspicious. Blake already leaked this actress's name before the case even went to court. If she was truly protecting this actress, wouldn't she keep her identity private? Instead, it looks like Blake strategically put her in the spotlight to create a stronger emotional narrative, turning the lawsuit into a battle about protecting young women in Hollywood. But that's not all. Reports suggest that Blake went out of her way to form a close bond with this actress before the lawsuit even started. She allegedly showered her with gifts, invited her over for private gatherings, and made her feel like family. At first, this might seem harmless, but some are calling it classic Hollywood grooming. Because now, Blake expects this young actress to back her up. Some people believe Blake set this up from the beginning, building trust and loyalty so that, when the time came, she'd have a built-in supporter for her lawsuit. And here's the worst part. If the case collapses, Blake won't be the one paying the price. This young actress, who was dragged into this mess, will be left dealing with the aftermath of a lawsuit she never asked to be involved in. But was this just a coincidence? Or was it all part of Blake's bigger plan? That brings us to the final question. Was this lawsuit ever real to begin with?
So who was it, Blake, that led the mass unfollow of Baldoni that created the crisis situation in the first place? Who was it, Blake, who, despite you saying you got everything you wanted, made the decision that you guys could not do any PR together anywhere. Who made that decision? Who made that decision? Was it you?
At this point, more and more people believe this lawsuit was never about justice. It was about power, control, and public perception. Blake Lively has been in Hollywood for decades. She knows how the media works, and she knows how to spin a narrative in her favor. And this lawsuit? It might be her biggest attempt at controlling a Hollywood project yet. There are too many red flags for this to be a legitimate case. Fake evidence. Text messages that suddenly disappeared after contradicting her story. Forum shopping. Moving the lawsuit from Texas to New York to find a court that might favor her. False HR complaints. Leaked allegations that never actually existed. Coordinated PR attacks. A mass social media smear campaign against Justin Baldoni. And the biggest sign of all? The shifting narrative.
What do you want men to take away from this film?
I want men... First of all, I want men to stop asking the question, why do women stay?
Yeah.
Right? I want men to take accountability. I want men to hold other men accountable.
They're just pulling this clip out of obscurity. So what are we to assume that he's speaking about? Well, it turns out he's speaking about his character, Ryle, and they're asking him a question in the context of domestic violence.
At first, Blake was focused on the lawsuit itself. But as soon as her evidence started crumbling, the story changed. Suddenly, she started making it about industry sexism, power imbalances, and victimhood. This is a classic Hollywood move. When you start losing the legal battle, you turn it into a PR battle. And let's be real, if Blake really had a strong case, would she need to manipulate the media this much? Instead of proving her case in court, she's trying to win in the court of public opinion. But here's the thing about Hollywood PR stunts. They only work if the public buys into them. And right now, people aren't buying it anymore. The comparisons to Amber Heard have already started. The contradictions in Blake's story are becoming too obvious. And the internet? They're turning against her. Now, the only question is, how much longer can she keep this up before it all falls apart?
I don't know how her professional and personal life was altered. It didn't look that way to me when she was posing on the red carpet with her husband and mocking the situation, but let's go with it.
Blake Lively thought she could rewrite the truth. But the receipts don't lie. Her case is falling apart, and the internet isn't buying it anymore. With fake evidence, missing witnesses, and contradictions everywhere, this lawsuit looks more like a PR disaster than a legal fight. Now, the big question is, how much longer can she keep this up? And more importantly, will Ryan Reynolds continue standing by her? What do you think? Is Blake Lively's lawsuit completely fake, or is there more to the story? Let me know in the comments, and if you stayed till the end, comment lawsuit. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to me, and ring the bell so you will be first to know about newest drama.